What's going on, everybody? It's Ricky with Videohomicide, back with another batch of films from my youth, you know, some sentimental value films. And this time, there's no bullshit, okay? These are all the legit copies. What I mean by that is these are the copies from when I was a kid. You know, this wasn't like, oh, fuck, I liked, you know, this movie when I was a kid, got rid of it, and then acquired it later. These were the ones that my little hands pushed into the VCR when I was just a baby. So we're going to talk about those. But before we get into those, I just want to quickly remind everybody that I've made an art zine along with 8 other people. Second issue has 9 collaborators, including myself. First issue has 4. We're talking Cinema 187, issue 1, and issue 2. These are available for $20 US shipped. You will get both of these. You will get both issues that are currently out of Filthy Ralph, which is my comic book. And you'll get issues 1 through 4 of Raise the Dead, which is my art book, and then Radioactive Blob Fuels Coffee, of course. So, and a shitload of stickers. So for $20, you can get all that. It's not gonna last. The zines will last, but the bundle is not gonna last, because once I'm out of the ones that I've set aside, that's it. It's gonna go back to fucking regular price, which will just be like $20 US shipped for the zine, and you'll get probably coffee, and you'll get Filthy Ralph number 2. So if you want to take advantage and get every fucking zine, do it now. Trust me, because I think I got maybe, I would say probably 10 to 12 put together packages with the stickers, with the zines, all that shit. So like I said, once those are gone, they're gone, and then it's just gonna be a nightmare. So let's move into these sentimental films now. I gotta quickly just talk about like what I mean by this. So, you know, a lot of people hold sentimental value to certain films, movies they saw a lot, and I feel like everyone has a unique experience with that, because when I was a kid, my dad would show me the Universal monster films. Those are the earliest films I can remember watching. Those and fucking Barney, okay, Live in New York with the Wingster, all right? But the Universal horror films, like that, this is one of the reasons why I like James Rolfe so fucking much, was because he sort of like talked about how I discovered film or was exposed to film. Like my dad showed me Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, The Mummy. Those were the 4 Universal films that I grew up with. It wasn't until later on that he got Bride of Frankenstein and I think Invisible Man and Creature from the Black Lagoon, which was taped. My dad and me, we taped Creature from the Black Lagoon and The Blob the same night while he made a pot of chicken soup. It is ingrained in my fucking DNA. When I see those movies, I smell chicken soup. When I smell chicken soup, I fucking see those movies. I hope it never goes away. And, you know, when I have those tapes that we taped up there on the shelf, and I would not part with them for fucking anything on the world. But that is a good example of your sentimental value film. You might have watched Back to the Future when you were a kid in the fucking movie theater. I use Back to the Future because I want to quickly say something. I've talked about Back to the Future in the past and have talked, and it may or may not have sounded like I wasn't a fan of the film. I like Back to the Future. I like all 3 of those fucking movies. What I do not like is its fandom. I think there's a lot of toxic fandoms in this fucking world, comic books especially, movies, like, and video games. Like, are you fucking kidding me? There are so many, like, just fucking clowns that, you know, dicks, man, and girl dicks too, just like people that are pieces of shit assholes. They fucking have to make it like, oh, this movie's the best movie ever. You have a fucking differing opinion, you're wrong. Like, jump off a fucking bridge, all right, and land on a bed of nails like Mortal Kombat. You know what I'm saying? So no one has any right to tell anybody how to feel about any kind of movie or any kind of music or art or anything general in life. You're over the age of 18, you're a legal adult, you can do whatever the fuck you want, all right, minus murder and robbery and rape and all that, and the normal shit. I gotta get a little bit more high for this, because when we're talking about some of my favorites, I need to get a buzz going. I think that when I look back on the last video I did, which I didn't look back on, but when I think about, yeah, I should do another one of those, you know, because I've been thinking about it. I've been cleaning out my room and discovered across like a bunch of tapes that I just kind of didn't forget I owned, but just hadn't looked at in a while. And these 3 were in there. I was gonna pick 5, but you know what? I thought I'd do 3. So let's check them out, man. The first one, these are not like in any kind of order. Like, I don't prefer this over that or the third. So first up, a little dusty. We've got Enter the Dragon from, I believe, 1973. Yes, 1973, directed by Robert Close. I'm not sure what Robert Close went on to do after this, but this is a pretty cool edition. This was from my Uncle Mike's collection, and this is how I discovered Enter the Dragon. It was not how I discovered Bruce Lee. I discovered Bruce Lee through a tape my dad has, or had, what I have down there right now. I think it might be in my closet, but it's The True Game of Death. It's like one of those knockoff films. I believe it was kind of like shot like a bit like a documentary. It's been years since I watched it, but always knew about Bruce Lee. Always knew he was badass. My uncle was obsessed with him. And when I finally got around to watch Enter the Dragon, I had already seen the Mortal Kombat film, and I drew a lot of parallels from that. But that's fine because I loved Mortal Kombat, and I love this like 20 times more. This movie is the definition of like 70s goodness, in my opinion. 70s is my favorite era in film, definitely. And with it came so many different flavors of movies. The Exorcist, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Enter the Dragon, The Warriors, Dawn of the Dead, Zombie, fucking, I believe Deep Red was 1970, I want to say. I could be totally wrong on that, but Argento put out shit in the fucking 70s. Fulci put out shit in the 70s. Zombie, of course. It's the decade that has so much good that like it outweighs the shit. Although I have seen some shitty stuff from the 70s that I've been like, god damn, but we're not gonna fucking talk about shit today. We're gonna talk about goodness. Enter the Dragon, of course, stars Bruce Lee. Also stars John Saxon, who is a for fans of like exploitation cinema and horror cinema, we know who John Saxon is. Most people know John Saxon from Nightmare on Elm Street. You might know him from Cannibal Apocalypse. You might know him from Nightmare on Elm Street 3, and kind of like in a not a huge role in that film. I'm trying to think of some other stuff. He was in from Dusk Till Dawn. He played like a bit role on a TV. Like he's been in a lot of stuff. I believe he directed a film called Zombie. He definitely directed some fucking beater horror film. I'll never be able to fucking see it from here, but nonetheless, John Saxon is the man, and Jim Kelly, of course, who's this blaxploitation type superstar. He was in a few other blaxplo films. I'll be damned if I could remember the name of any of them. I have seen like at least one, possibly two other Jim Kelly films. I believe I got a couple of them throughout like some of those 50 packs and stuff like that. That was one thing that like I think people are sleeping on now. Like back in the day when you could get like those 50 movie packs for like, I got them as cheap as like $10, $5. You find them at a thrift store and shit like that. But they house so many goddamn movies. Like we're talking about 50 movies that are all cheesers, but like, you had ones on there that had all three, or there might even be four. I think it's three Black Cobra films. You're always going to get Night of the Living Dead. You're always going to get, White Zombie. You're going to get a bunch of those 50s cheesers, man. I'm not big into the 50s films. I mean, there's some in there that I like. Moby Dick, of course. Godzilla was a big one. And there's the Hammer films, of course, can't go unannounced. But this movie, I think the theme of this film, obviously, if you don't know it, you probably are fucking, I don't know what to tell you, but it's fine if you've never seen this film, actually. What the fuck am I talking about? If you haven't seen this movie, that's fine. Check it out. Find it, all right? It's a fucking good one. And like, if you've never seen it, but you have played Mortal Kombat, or you've seen the Mortal Kombat film, just think of that, but like set in the 70s and like way better and more interesting and better characters and better acting all the way around. So there's this island run by this guy, Han, who's held captive a bunch of people, gotten a bunch of people hooked on heroin, and it's basically like a heroin manufacturing plant or some shit, and there's all these slaves and shit, of course, but there's also like a martial arts academy, and every year there's this tournament. Bruce Lee's invited to the tournament, Jim Kelly is invited to the tournament, and so is John Saxon, and they all have three different types of stories. So Lee, of course, is like this martial artist whose sister was murdered, and then he ends up going there he's kind of sent by the police to do a little bit of investigation, see what the fuck's going on. And Jim Kelly is this black dude that is, and I point out that he's a black dude because he's harassed by the police immediately after leaving his martial arts school, and he ends up kicking the shit out of them and taking the cop car. Which I'm sure back in the 70s, man, like when there was some dudes in the theater that seen that, they probably fucking jumped. That probably made their year, you know. I like to think of that stuff. My uncle said, like, back in the day in the theaters, it was always kind of hit or miss. Like, sometimes there'd be a fight. Sometimes people would fucking talk the whole time. Like, he said it was bullshit. Like, I feel like now most people, I don't go to the theater that often, but, like, most people can contain themselves. You might see, like, the odd cell phone light, but other than that, you know, but that's, I don't live in Brooklyn, you know what I mean? I live in fucking Canada here, so, but yeah, Jim Kelly, amazing guy. So he gets fucked over by the cops, steals a car. He ends up going on to the competition that way, and John Saxon, he's this fucking like rich guy who's making bets, wanna bet, like that's kind of his thing in the movie, wanna bet, and he's always making bets and shit. And he ends up going because he's broke, and that's basically his story. He's like, the mob wants him, they come to kick his ass kind of thing. He ends up fucking off. So there's that. They all converge on the island. They kind of befriend each other, and then each of them have their own little arc there. I think that my favorite is John Saxon's, because I like when he's like betting. Actually, no, I take that back. I think I like Bruce Lee's story the best. But there's a scene where they're all sparring, and like Jim Kelly, John Saxon are like betting with this old Chinese dude about like who's gonna win these fights, and they're obviously rigging the fights, and like I just always liked that scene. I thought it was awesome. Like, this is like the kind of like Asian film that it can give, it like just gives you like a pretty straightforward story. Like a kid could watch this and understand, hence myself. But you know, it's not like sort of a convoluted story. Not to say that those movies ever really had that kind of a story, but it's definitely easy to watch. You could show it to anybody. And again, if it's your first time watching it and you're like, you know, an older, you know, you're like 30 years old, never seen it before, like, be prepared. You're going to be fucking in love. So, Enter the Dragon, of course. We got 2 more movies. So, I'm going to save that one for last. So, the next film on the list is from 1972. I think, and okay, so 1972 and 1973 just happened. So, The Poseidon Adventure, okay, directed by, you know what, this is a disgrace. I actually don't know who the fuck directed it, because over top of where the director is, there's a sticker. So we got Poseidon Adventure, of course, starring Gene Hackman, Ernest Borgnine, who's one of my favorite actors. Red Buttons, he plays like the little kind of like, hey, guy, like Red Buttons basically is like a Butters kind of character. How's that? Roddy McDowall is in this film. He doesn't last too long. I don't remember him being in it that much. Shelley Winters. And I believe my dad just said, or my Uncle Mike said, one of the actresses from this film just recently passed, so that's horrible. This is a movie that comes courtesy of Old Man, and it is literally hell upside down. This is like one of the reasons why I cannot go on a boat. I will never go on a boat. Like, it would take some damn fucking fine convincing to get me onto a boat, or especially like a ship or something, or especially like going over a vast distance body of water like the fucking Atlantic Ocean. No, thank you. Freeze out there in the fucking water? No. So apparently a lot of this film was shot on the Queen Mary, which I believe is this big ship that's parked on in Long Beach, where you know, the LBC, where SNOOPDOGG lives. But basically, the story of this movie, it's about this pleasure cruiser. It's making its way across the ocean, and it ends up getting hit by like a rogue wave, and it flips upside down. And there's a large group of people that survive the flip that are all in this ballroom. And Gene Hackman plays this priest, and he basically tells everyone, like, listen, this is not good. We need to make it to the top of the thing, you know, the top of the boat. Blah blah blah. Everyone thinks he's fucking nuts. There's a small group of people that are on with him, so they all go, and they end up living. You know, the lion's share of them end up living. So it's pretty cool to see what happens from there. Ernest Borgnine, I think he steals the show. Gene Hackman, people love him. People hate him. I love Gene Hackman. This is my favorite role he's in, even more so than French Connection, and I love French Connection. People talk shit about French Connection. I'm like, well, too bad. I fucking love it, man. Same with this. So Really good score from this as well. Really good score in Enter the Dragon too. That's one thing I always fucking forget to talk about in these videos. I always forget to mention the score. So stay tuned for me actually giving credit where credit's due. Yeah, highly recommended film. And if you've not seen it, but you've seen the remake, just, you know, prepare yourself. This is about 1 billion times better than the remake. I saw the remake with my mom actually in the theater, so what the fuck's his name? Wow, if I don't remember his name, I'm gonna snap. Hooper from fucking Jaws. What the hell's his name? Richard Dreyfuss. He's in the remake. Last and most importantly, we have one of my favorite films of all time from 1956, Moby Dick. Okay, with Gregory Peck, directed by John Huston, who did. He did a couple other really, or not more than, he did more than a couple really good fucking films, to say the least. That's what, Treasure of the Sierra Madre, that's one that I watched in the last, like, couple years. But, yes, this was my dad's copy. The reason why this movie means so much to me, not only because it's fucking amazing, but it spawned a love for the story of Moby Dick. I tried to read it. I have it right there, the fucking Victorian era book. It's too goddamn hard to read, man. It's, like, the slang is just too intense for me. So I had to put that shit down. It's not like it's like Clockwork Orange and has a fucking glossary in the back. Although the copy of Clockwork that I have does not have a fucking glossary in the back. So you're just kind of like, all right. This movie means a lot to me because one time my dad, he got not a brand new, but he got a new VCR probably from a thrift store and he wanted to test it out. So I grabbed this movie and he says, "No, son, don't put Moby Dick in there because if it gets fucked up, we're going to lose a really good movie." And that I'll never forget that. I will never fucking forget that. And this is the copy right here. So I hold Moby Dick near and dear to my heart. But the story of it is basically the story of Ishmael, who's this guy who wants to, you know, whenever he feels like knocking people's hats off in the street, he knows it's time to go to sea. So he goes to sea, boards wow. Give me a second. The Pequod. Goes on the Pequod and with his friend Queequeg, who's this big fucking huge cannibal native guy from some island. And the captain of the ship is Ahab, who's this fucking person that has a peg leg because he was attacked by a huge white sperm whale. And of course, there's a comedy of other characters on the ship. Like there's, I believe his name's Storch or Scorch. And then there's a carpenter. There's just a bunch of fucks. There's like the black guy. I forget his name in the film. Dagu. He was actually like a singer. He was a singer and actually is on the soundtrack of Moby Dick. But trying to think of that other guy's name. Tashtaggo. Maybe Tashtaggo was the black guy. But either way, it's just full of all these cool characters, and they go out and they have their adventures catching whales and stuff. They eventually come across the white whale, and that's when the fucking craziness takes over. I don't know. I highly recommended that film to everybody. Me and my brother have watched it. We've watched In the Heart of the Sea, which is sort of like not a remake of Moby Dick, but like a really good fucking movie about Moby Dick. So highly recommend that shit too. But yeah, man, that's it. That's 3 movies that mean a lot to me. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Make sure you leave a 666 in the comments. If you want to, go on to cinema.187 on Instagram. That's where you can order these zines, and you'll get some stickers and stuff, and you might even get a fucking handwritten letter from me saying, "Hey, how you doing?" So for some reason my fucking TV, it's gone blue. All right, it's just like the cocaine in fucking Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke. It's turning blue. Adios.